Hello and welcome back to this episode. This episode we're going to cover loading and saving to a file. In this particular case, we're going to go ahead and add loading and saving to the individual card as opposed to being external to the board that contains all the cards, which we'll get to that as well. This way you can save a collection of cards, but I like to be able to save and load an individual card one by one. And the reason, of course, is because our card interface in general may not use a board with lots of cards, may only be one at a time. Plus also, occasionally, you're going to have situations where the card itself basically gets saved as an individual or as a group, etc. Anyway, we'll see what happens. So first thing we need to do, of course, to be able to load and save the actual card is to give it some sort of interface to be able to load or save it. So to do that, I think what we'll do is we'll add some icons basically for loading and saving, and we'll use that as the means for doing that. So we'll use let's see, like a left arrow and a right arrow for load and save, and I think we could start with that to begin with. Now, one thing when you're designing any kind of interface, you always have to take into account that different people's machines, different screens, are going to present your application slightly differently. I'll give an example. Like, even what we've done so far, the actual cards themselves will appear differently based on the machine that you're running it on, right? So this card Dell, for example, right, we absolutely position it up there at the right. When we go ahead and we add the various new icons, we've got to make sure that they can line up and are going to do things the way we want. And we'll talk about how to do that in order to make sure that we have a consistent, or as consistent as possible, interface. In other words, looking the same way. Now, take a look at this. If we go ahead and we run our application, now you notice on the right and the bottom here these scroll bars. Now, this actually only appears for me only when I'm doing these recordings for you, because I'm using a 1080p monitor at work. When I run this on my MacBook, I actually never see those the scroll bars. They don't show up, and the reason could be a slight 1 pixel difference in the way that HD, high definition, whatever HDIA, high DIP, whatever it's called, it shows up. The basis, whether it's my machine or it's on, that laptop itself, or it's actually going ahead and showing up here on this 1080p monitor. So, like I said, these little types of differences can affect the way your software will look. So there are some techniques that can be used in order to avoid that, and that really but you have to keep that in your head when you're designing any kind of interface, about the fact that there could be slight discrepancies between one screen and another screen. Now, even though they're all, for example, in my case, I'm using Chrome in all these cases, it's not just about even the fact that we have different browsers. Even the same browser like Chrome makes that difference depending on what machine it is. So Chrome, though, does keep things. If you're basically saying that people to use my product with Chrome, that's fine, but there are differences. And of course, if you ever want to turn this into a application that's only going to be running, for example, native, which we'll talk about at some point, it's then what happens is you're going to be using the native browser on each machine. It happens to be that it's going to be Chrome on in the case of Linux and in the case of Windows today, but on Mac you'd be using Safari, as the actual basis for rendering. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's get work on our new little icon. So we did the right arrow. That'll be our save. And W3 text blue, we'll use that. That's what we used red before. I think that's changing color will be nice. Okay, let's go ahead and make some more changes here. Okay, let's go ahead and move it to card frame as the parent, and top 0px. Left we'll delete altogether. Okay, bottom we delete altogether. Right, deleting just ensures that it won't become a factor in the layout. Right, let's put a 20 down and to the right 10 over. Okay, there you go. Now you notice, by the way, right, that they're not not lining up, right? And in fact, the only way to make sure that we get the kind of lineup we're looking for is we've got to give them bounding boxes that stay the same. And that's actually how we're going to solve the problem of the small little discrepancies, by giving it a bounding box, not the natural bounding box of the browser. So we have a 10 width and a 22 height. Let's use that, like I said, for our delete, right? And let's now go to our new icon. The same thing, 10 and 22, and that's good. So now you're going to get something that actually will line up. And like I said, we've got a couple pixels leeway, you know what I'm saying, between machine and browsers, and it should remain pretty stable. Again, we could redesign the interface so that everything is using static controls, and that might be a better idea, but on the long term. But for right now, this is more than adequate, and for almost everyone, they're not going to have any issues with the way things look. Okay, so now we have our card save. Let's go ahead and let's do a copy and then paste. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and same idea, card frame. Again, top, we're going to do, let's say 30. Okay, delete left, delete bottom. Okay, and right, same thing, 10px. Oh, wait, let's move that first, 40px. There we go. Okay, card load. And change the icon. There we go. Okay, that all looks good. Okay, so we've got our save, we've got our load. All right, and let's go now. So the next step is we're going to add the actual code that we use, for example, where we'll go ahead and hide this in code when it's actually created. This is because when our make load, our make saveable, make loadable, we'll use those. We'll unhide these for us. So let's actually copy that code into there. Yeah, I could have probably have chosen to did a copy paste with the original delete. Maybe we'll do a little bit quicker, but that's fine. Long way is not necessarily the bad way. On delete card. Okay, let's go to our on click. In this case, we'll go on save card. Oops, unload. Oh no. Okay. So I'll let you in on a little secret. I have to go back and change that save and load. I made a mistake from recording from last time, and I didn't have the microphone on, so I'm actually redubbing everything. So I just caught a little mistake doing this, that card save and load have to be reversed. But we'll go back and we'll change it afterwards. No problems. But for right now, we'll keep going because this is what's on the recording. Okay, so let's go back to our card body. Okay, and there we go. So we've got to now take our make deletable. Let's copy that, and we're gonna need to make a make savable. Okay, savable and a make loadable. All right, savable. Okay, make loadable. Okay, that's all set up. Now we do card delete. It's got to be changed to card save. Okay, card save and card load. Okay, let's save it. Card load. You know what? I forgot to run the original card. Okay, let's go back to the card. Let's go ahead and let's run it. Okay, so that compiles it into our Lisp image. Okay, so that should take care of that. Plus also I saw that I forgot to add the onload as well. Okay, that's good. That all compiled now fine that we did that. Let's add to our new card. Let's add the make savable and make loadable. Okay, just took out the little file. Let's go ahead and run it. And there we go. Okay, let's try using, see, I got a problem. Now you'll notice I'm using Slime on the side. I like doing that because it offers me the debug environment there. So I very frequently, most of the time when developing, I generally like actually using Slime. And some combination of Emacs along with the builder, and it's just then the builder just becomes an extension of my REPL and everything else that's going on. Okay, so we need to add our onload and onsave here as well. And okay, let's go ahead and okay, fine. Let's go ahead and copy our onDelete card, and we'll add our new functions. In this case, on save and on load. Okay, save. Okay, and then of course the functionality is not going to be the same. So let's just change it now to like a print load and print save. This way we can keep track of what's going on as we build up our functionality to actually save this to a file. Okay, evaluate all. Let's issue static find panel. We'll use that in the future, not now, doesn't matter. So now I can leave that to ignore for the moment. Okay, and let's give that a runny. Okay, fine, add card. Okay, and away we go. Alright, there you go, unload, unsave. Okay, fantastic. Alright, and here we go. Okay, one of the things we've got to do right away, because we had that, which I noticed of course when we were control events. On click, there we go. So this should be on save. Right, when I was re-recording the audio, because I had set it from yesterday's recordings, I was not recording the right microphone. Okay, here we go. On click. So this basically is now correct. So it's the correct on load card, on save card is the correct one for the icon. Okay. Alright, we're good to go. Let's save this. Okay, so now let's go back to where we were. At this point, we've basically got to write the code for our on load and on save. Okay, so first what we're going to do is implement the on load. That's on save. Let's do on save first. Okay. Now, so what are we going to do? We're going to use the server file dialog, which is part of CLOG GUI. There are many ways we could have handled getting file names and saving, but we're going to treat this right now as a local application, and we're going to go with this, which is the best first solution. All right, so I'll go ahead here and server dialog object. Okay, fine. Title. Okay, this is going to be save file. Okay, and the initial directory, we'll just use the current directory for now. Okay, and let's set our result. So what happens is that the server file dialog will pop a window, let us pick a file, and then basically it will give us a result. So now if the result exists, meaning that we actually did pick a file name, then we can now open our file. So let's do with open file. All right, and let's see, file. Let's use F for our stream symbol, and then we're going to use results. Right, that's the file itself. Right, okay, that's the file name, and then from here we're going to need to have a direction. Right. Okay, and that'll be, since we're doing it's going to be output. And also we need to handle if it already exists, right? We have to say to supersede. Okay, so perfect. Good. Okay, now let's go ahead and write out our file. We're going to use our function that we created last time, get card data, and from the panel. Okay, and we're going to write it out to stream F. All right. Okay, all parentheses match. Good to go. Save this. Evaluate the form. Great. Perfect. Okay, so now we can save our file. Okay, and let's do the same code now to load our file, right? So let's go ahead and server, let's say load file. Okay, one result. Okay, and with open file again, F result direction. Okay, input. Okay, perfect. Okay, and now we actually have to let's use our set card now. We're gonna read the data back, and we'll use set card to set it, and panel, and we'll use our read from the file stream. Bum bum. Okay. Again, save, evaluate the form. Perfect. Okay, I think we are just about ready. Okay, so let's go ahead now and go back here. File, new window. Okay, add card. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the card so that, let's see here, my card, and let's see here, whoops, let's go ahead and this is my body. Okay, I think we're good to go. So let's experiment with saving it. All right, let's create a file. Let's call it test, and we'll make up an extension to our card and save it. Okay, that's fantastic. Let's do this. Let's get a new window. Let's take a look and see what our file looks like. More test card. Fantastic. Okay, looks great. It's in a file. All right, let's do another card. Okay, let's see what next. Let's go ahead and let's load our card. Let's see if that's working. Test card. Bada boom, perfect. Okay, so now we can load and save our cards